Hello and welcome to the In Publishing podcast. My name is James Evelegh and I'm the editor of In Publishing. My guest this time is Rosie Nixon, editor-in-chief of one of the country's highest profile magazines, Hello. In a wide-ranging chat, I talked to Rosie about how the title has developed since she took over in 2008, how it adapted during the pandemic, and her plans for the future. Rosie tells me why Hello decided to push back against toxic online behaviour.
And we felt that we had to make a stand as a media brand and say, look, this kind of communication isn't welcome in our world. We don't want it here, and we will block you and see you off our pages if we feel that, you are acting in an unkind manner.
Why Hello's big royal souvenir specials are so important.
Because we think of Hello as a magazine of record, there's a historical souvenir sort of feel to some of these moments, and our audience sort of might buy that issue and keep it for years and years to come, put it in the loft and pass it down through generations.
And where Hello and other consumer magazine publishers should be focusing their effort.
On understanding your audience, always, and being data-driven online and really sort of harnessing the community of readers and users that you have and really deep diving into what they want from your brand, and being responsive. We have to be agile. We have to be able to try things, and if they don't work, move on to something else and develop the things that do work. So it's an exciting time with lots of opportunity.
Before we hear more from Rosie, a quick word about our valued sponsors. We would like to thank our podcast sponsor, Air Business, a market leader in distribution and subscription management services for the publishing industry. Its end-to-end service includes subscriber acquisition and marketing strategy, worldwide distribution, digital mail and e-commerce fulfillment, and warehouse and freight logistics. For more information, visit airbusiness.com. Rosie Nixon, welcome to the In Publishing podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Firstly, I believe congratulations are in order. You've got a new book out.
That's right. Yes. A couple of weeks ago, my new book came out. It's called Be Kind, the first non-fiction title that I've written. So, yeah, very exciting. Came out just in time for World Kindness Day.
And for Christmas as well, no doubt.
And for the Christmas market, yes. Excellent stocking filler, I might add.
Of course. So can you tell us it's obviously called Be Kind. So
yes.
What's it all about?
Yeah, really, it was my lockdown baby. The book came about during the last lockdown that we had. And I guess I wanted to pull together and put in one place a lot of the inspiring words that I was seeing around that time, mostly things shared on social media, and as well as obviously the great challenges and difficulties we all as a nation felt during that time. There were real moments of kindness where communities came together to support one another. Individuals, took a lot more time to think about their own mental health and self-care and self-compassion, and were sharing words of advice. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to pull together all of those nuggets and those little tips and pearls of wisdom and put them all in one place so that we could have this book to dip into whenever we needed it. So the book is divided into 3 sections. There's kindness to yourself, so self-compassion and self-care tips, kindness to one another, and also kindness to the planet. And I didn't intend it to become a celebrity book, which it kind of ended up that way. And lots of famous names, from Russell Brand to June Sarpong to Dermot O'Leary and Holly Willoughby, have all contributed to the book. Because I found that, I started to ask people if I could use some of their quotes or if they'd like to contribute something original. And everybody said yes, as a kind act in itself. And it actually became a very sort of celebrity-heavy book. But the response to it has been wonderful, and it was a really lovely project to work on, alongside my friend Jackie Jones, who's a doodle artist who brought the pages to life. So, yeah, a book to be enjoyed by all ages.
Fantastic. So of all the celebrity inputs, any particularly good words of advice from the celebrities on offer?
There were, yeah. Everybody really, really thought about it. There were some really inspirational words. Lots of people talking about, something quite short but very powerful. Holly Willoughby talks about there being real power in being kind even to the unkind ones. which is something very simple but important for us to remember, because I think the thing with kindness is that it is very much a learned behaviour. We have to keep reminding ourselves, because in any given moment, your initial reaction or response might not be one of kindness, especially when confronted with something unkind yourself. So, and the more that you can remember to bring kindness into your life, that I really believe it can bring some magic into your life, because it gives back to you, bucket loads. Russell Brand thought very hard about what he wrote about in the book, about his sort of recovery. Melissa Hemsley contributed a recipe that makes her feel happy and kind, as a recipe that you could make for somebody else. These little happiness balls, she called them. Strictly Come Dancing dancer professional Karen Hauer came up with some kindness stretches. So again, very simple movements that you can do if you're feeling tense or stressed out, that will help alleviate that and be kind to yourself. So a huge variety of things.
Fantastic. And do you think we've become less kind as a society, or is this just something which is a constant throughout?
Arguably, certainly in the world that I'm in, I feel that we've become kinder and much more aware of kindness. I think, we talked about it so much over the last couple of years, and certainly within my community. I was living in London during the pandemic, and I've never seen such community spirit, from the standing on our doorsteps and clapping for the NHS to making sure that nobody was going to be on their own and without a Christmas lunch cooked for them last Christmas. So I think that outpouring of kindness was amazing, but it's how we don't make that just a fleeting moment, but really keep that feeling, running every day. So hopefully this book, will help people see that kindness really can be a superpower if you remember to use it.
Lovely. Now, I kindness obviously runs through a lot of what you do in terms of, you believe in, positive, kind and trusted content.
That's right.
In terms of publishing, in terms of editing a magazine, what's your thinking? How does that translate into your day job, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I guess kindness and positivity has always been a USP of Hello's since the magazine launched back in 1988. It was always known for working very closely with the stars and treating people well. But we really started to think about kindness in greater depth a few years ago when we launched our Hello to Kindness campaign. And we launched this campaign in response to growing negativity that we were seeing, especially in the online world, especially on social media, when lots of our content is royal, and we were seeing real sort of venom posted towards the Duchess of Cambridge and the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, and kind of pitting the two women against each other, and so much negativity, and actually sort of really nasty kind of sexist bullying, often, sometimes racist commentary. And we felt that we had to make a stand as a media brand and say, look, this kind of communication isn't welcome in our world. We don't want it here, and we will block you and see you off our pages if we feel that, you are acting in an unkind manner. And that doesn't mean to say we don't want to encourage sort of friendly debate and everybody's allowed an opinion, but there's a big difference when that crosses a certain line. And we didn't want to have members of our digital team spending a disproportionate amount of time policing negative commentary. So we made a stand, and we wear our kindness as a badge of honour. And this movement had a huge impact. It resonated very strongly with our audience and also our commercial partners, and obviously all the personalities that we feature on our pages. So we really are proud of this stance. And I think perhaps in the past, and Hello has been criticised for being sort of overly friendly, as if that isn't a way to practice credible journalism. Well, I strongly disagree. And I think, our kind approach has seen such longevity in the magazine's the length of time we've been running. So it really works for us, and it means that the stars feel that they can open up to us because that we're a kind, protective, trusted, safe environment.
Now, on a practical level, in the social media channels, I know you're active on Facebook and the like. How do you go about it when people join your channels and are negative? Do you have a team of people, looking out for that, and how do you cope with it?
Yes, yeah, we do. And actually, we have seen a big decrease in it since we made this stand. I think people have to be accountable in the online world, and we're certainly, campaigning for that. That accountability is absolutely crucial. And if we do feel that there is, negativity, then, we'll have no qualms in blocking that user. They don't have a place in our world. Same as if somebody made an abusive comment to me or somebody that you might walk past in the street, that wouldn't have a place in our world. And hopefully we're getting to a place where that kind of commentary can be reported and there will be repercussions too. So so we're very protective about our kind community.
So on to the pandemic, I suppose, or referring to the pandemic. When the pandemic struck, a large or a significant part of your circulation is via the newsstand, copy sales. What measures did you take early on or during it to mitigate that, to minimise sales losses?
Yeah, well, very early on, obviously, we had to think about our editorial direction for the magazine at that time, obviously, as well as the practical side of knowing that our audience wouldn't be able to necessarily get to shops to buy magazines as they did. And we took a big hit, obviously, when WH Smith's travel points all closed down. That was a tough period for everybody in publishing. But we worked very closely, with the production team, continually tweaking our production costs and margins and looking at the print run and being adaptable. That's one of the great benefits of being an independent publisher, that we can control our printing schedule, right up until the last minute. But editorially, we really focused on the content that we were producing and what our USP was going to be at this time. And that was, further boosting the positivity and the uplifting nature of our content, because sitting down with a magazine was going to become a really precious time for our audience, to take them away from all of the stresses and the hard news and the strains that everybody was feeling. We wanted Hello to be a place that you could go to feel uplifted and transported from that. So we tried to make it as COVID-free as we could, whilst also obviously being sensitive to, the fact that the world was not operating the way it always had done. But to make as positive as we could and as useful as we could for our audience.
What kind of content were you running? For instance, if you compare an issue a month into the pandemic with a month before the pandemic,
yes,
how would they look different?
You would see some changes. Yeah, we introduced a number of new editorial strands, like short stories for our audience, because we asked top authors if they would write an exclusive short story for us, because we thought that our audience might like to sit down and have a longer read. We upped the recipes content in the magazine because we knew that people would be at home a lot more cooking, less going out. And we work very closely with the stars that we feature, because we have got these long-term, lovely relationships with lots of celebrities, and actually found that lots of them were sat at home sort of twiddling their thumbs, not out and about working as normal. And lots of them actually did perform their own photo shoots for us, even taking images on mobile phones and sending them in. And there was a real kind of, great spirit of coming together to produce the best content that we could. So so it had its challenges, obviously, as every company has felt, with everybody working from home. But it was also a time where I really felt that the team came together and felt that we had a common goal to do something good.
And in terms of photo shoots, because that's obviously typically a large part of what you do.
Yes.
I mean, could you commission any, or was it all a question of celebrities sending in selfies?
Yeah, I mean, it was a mixture. I mean, obviously all the rulings kept changing. So sometimes we were able to do shots sort of from the end of somebody's driveway, or to photograph them outside in their gardens, because obviously work was allowed to continue. So our photographers were keen to be out and about where possible. But a number of them, obviously, we couldn't enter people's homes for a long time, so that proved more challenging. But, well, there's a will, there's a way, and this type of content, that's what our audience responds really well to. So, yes, it was tricky on the royal engagements front as well. Clearly, Zoom engagement is not nearly as exciting as seeing the Duchess of Cambridge or the Queen out and about in real life. But we had to make the best of what we had.
And in publishing terms, looking back over the last 18 months, were there any positives you can take away from it?
Well, yeah, I mean, luckily Hello has remained, in a very good position in the glossy weekly market. Actually our market share has grown excitingly during that time. We average now about 24% of market share per week. So we're outperforming our competitors, and we are Britain's #1 glossy weekly title, which has been sort of a key sort of challenge of mine over the last 14 years that I've been at Hello. So I'm really pleased that we've made it to that top spot. So clearly that positivity is resonating with our audience.
And in terms of some of the things, the increase, the stories, the recipes, and other things, once everything is completely back to normal, if that ever happens, will they remain, or will you go back to pre-COVID mode?
Well, yeah, some of them will remain. I mean, we've actually dropped short stories from the magazine on a weekly basis now, but we are producing to bolster the print weekly title. We are producing now about once a month a premium issue of Hello. So that is the same as the weekly issue, comes out on the same day and everything. But there are more pages in that issue, and it includes a special. So over the summer, we produced a short story special because we did some audience research, reader research during the pandemic, and found that the short stories were working really well for them. So we thought perhaps over the summer holidays, when you're going on holiday, you could pick up a premium issue of Hello and have lots of short stories that you might buy. We also introduced puzzles as well, and those, worked well for our audience. And we've actually retained the puzzles page, which is something that we had initially in Hello, and it launched sort of 30 or so years ago, and then had dropped over the years, but now it's come back again. So I think perhaps those sort of comforting kind of features are having a moment again. So it really is cyclical, I think.
And these bumper issues, is that something is that something which you began during the pandemic, or did that start beforehand?
No, that started pretty much during the pandemic, again, to give our audience a longer read. Because obviously we think of the Hello brand, Hello as a brand now, and we are obviously a multi-platform operation, but the print really sets the tone and is a space where we can include sort of longer features and more detailed reads and every last bit of detail about royal life especially. So we thought that, our audience would respond well to a deeper dive, perhaps once a month. And so far, we've seen a great response to it. The cover price goes up slightly on those premium issues to cover the cost of the extra pages, but we keep things literally to cover the cost. And the sales stack up, just as high as any other week's issue. So that's a really good indicator that this is working well for our audience.
Excellent. Now, in terms of your content, how would you describe your content strategy as a whole? As you've been editor for, would you say 14 years? So what would you do? How would you describe your content strategy?
Yeah, well, obviously, strategy in terms of the royals. I'm looking at a wall in front of me now with Hello covers on it, and they're pretty much all royal except for 2 in the last sort of 6 months. So I think we've really managed to harness the popularity of the royal family in the UK and the interest in the royal family, because let's face it, it's been a very interesting time for them over the last sort of year or two. So content strategy is very much skewed towards the royals. We'll continue producing these premium issues. We also produce a Hello lifestyle series, which are specials that come out at opportune moments. So we produced one when Prince Philip passed away, the Duke of Edinburgh, look back on his life in great detail, because we think of Hello as a magazine of record. There's a historical souvenir sort of feel to some of these moments, and our audience sort of might buy that issue and keep it for years and years to come, put it in the loft and pass it down through generations. So that's very much part of our content strategy too.
Do you see the interest in the royals? I mean, if you track it over the last 15 years, does it ebb and flow, or as a country are we continually obsessed by what they get up to?
I think it's only ever gone up. I mean, certainly in terms of the Hello audience, I mean, who clearly are royalists, because that's why they buy the magazine every week, or one of the key reasons. Royal content does extremely well for us online, and we've really become known in that field. So I think, for us, it shows definitely no signs of slowing.
And in terms of social media activity,
Hmm.
you're very busy on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yeah.
The Hello brand is,
Hmm.
some big numbers. How does that fit in? You said you kind of lead
Mm.
with print, and print sets the tone. So where does
Yes.
your social media activity fit in?
Yeah, well, we've had a huge emphasis on the digital and online side of the business, and social media is extremely important to us because obviously we want to be able to interact with our community 24/7. It's also enabled us to draw in different age groups, and we're now very popular on TikTok and Snap. We find that on Snapchat, our red carpet events often do really well, where Hello's at the premiere, and perhaps some of the stars there might appeal to younger generations. So they engage with us well on there. We can also have a bit more fun on those platforms than perhaps we could in the print magazine. So that's really lovely and engaging for the younger side of our online team. So yeah, we need to draw in a variety of age groups. I always say that Hello is read sort of from 18 to 80. So those platforms have really helped us to engage that younger end of our audience.
And how much resource do you put into? Because I mean,
Mm.
it can be, as you say, 24/7. It can be almost
Yes.
constant. So how many
Yeah.
people do you have on it, or do people split their time between the magazine and social media, or how do you work
No,
it?
I mean, actually, we still have kind of quite traditional teams structure in terms of we do have a print team and then we have the online team that look after social media as well. But there's a lot more interaction between the two, as there has to be. Because generally, in the past, it's been mostly the magazine team that will have the strongest relationships with talent. But now we're seeing the digital team, really get involved in pitches to stars as well, because whenever we're working with somebody, we need to cut up that piece of content so that it works really well on all platforms. So the communication between those departments is absolutely essential, and it's working really well. We did think about, looking at the way we structured our content team, and I know that many other publishing houses have developed hubs or people that work across a number of platforms. But for us, we're finding that people having specialisms in different areas helps us most within the business. But we do think of our audience as a community now, whether and you're part of that community, whether you read the print title or whether you mostly, read us on your mobile.
And can you see a situation where Hello would be a digital only brand, or is that inconceivable?
Yeah, it's inconceivable. Yeah, for me and certainly for the owner. Obviously, yeah, print came first with Hola magazine. We're owned by the Spanish family business that launched Hola back in 1944, and print has always been their first love, and it will certainly remain a key part of our, planning for the future. But that piece of the pie is going to get smaller. So I think we need to be available on all platforms. And as I say, we're spending a lot of time developing the digital part of the business now. We've just launched a podcast actually this week too, a daily podcast that you can find on Spotify and Acast. It's only under 5 minutes, all things celebrity and royal and
Oh,
entertainment.
excellent.
So
So could you tell us a bit
yeah.
more about that then? So it's just launched
Yeah,
this week, you say?
that's just launched this week. Yeah, it's called the Daily Lowdown. So every day we'll have sort of bite-sized celebrity, royal, and entertainment news. With two presenters from the online team who are doing a brilliant job. And that might be something that we expand as time goes on. But we want to be there at every touch point, at every place that our audience wants to engage with our brand, then we need to be there. And we're really excited about developing these new areas.
So, you probably touched on it already, but what would you say, sitting here now, what are your
Mm.
goals for the future?
Mm. Well, along with continuing to work on our output across all platforms, we're focused on sustainability as well, and that's at the heart of our agenda for next year. We've actually been undergoing an ESG audit over every part of the business for the last sort of about 6 months. That's been going on, and we will reveal those results in January. And we will announce sort of some key plans and pillars with regards to becoming a sustainable business in the next year. And again, that's something I feel strongly that we need to scrutinise every corner of our business and lead the way. We've already ditched plastic bags for paper bags on the newsstand, but there's more that we can do. So that's a key concern for next year.
And so you mentioned paper instead of plastic. Any other areas
Yeah.
which do you think will get particular attention?
Well, we're going to look at every aspect of our production line. Yeah, scrutinise every single corner of the business, from using local photographers and writers, when you're doing commissioning photo shoots to getting rid of all plastic in the offices. We're literally looking at everything. So we're working with an external company, and we're excited to be putting some measures in place and revealing those plans hopefully in January.
Oh, very exciting, very
Mm,
exciting. And in terms of your publishing goals, what are the
yeah.
challenges you face? When
Mm,
when you sit down and you plan out the issue and you plan out where you want to be
yes.
in a few years' time, what are the challenges you face in achieving those things?
Yeah, well, I think reconnecting with our audience is a key one for us because we were just starting to move into sort of more live events and had lots of plans for that a couple of years ago. And then obviously the pandemic hits. It's been very difficult to engage with our audience in a way that's not digital. So we're looking at some more events getting going next year. And we're very excited about, an optimistic, positive, and sort of having renewed vigour to work with our community in 2022. And obviously, there's a great opportunity for us there with the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So, as the country comes together to unite and celebrate, Hello is planning a lot of activity that we can engage our audience, in a sense of community around that.
So, what kind of
So,
events would those be?
well, they're in the planning stages. I can't
Okay,
really reveal exactly at the moment, but we've got lots of plans actually. We're talking to some commercial partners, and as soon as we've got things confirmed, maybe I can come back on and tell you more about
okay,
that.
an
So,
update.
yeah, the platinum year will be a big one for Hello.
Very exciting. So since taking on the editorship of Hello in 2008, how do you think the magazine has evolved under your editorship?
Gosh, well, I mean, the whole business has evolved enormously. I don't think I'd recognise the business really from the one that I started in at, all that time ago. But obviously, our USP when it comes to content has stayed the same. And I think that is really one of the secrets of our success. But obviously, the platforms and the way in which we put out that content has changed a huge amount. We're in a good place, yeah, and I'm happy to see that our market share is growing, which is really exciting. And obviously, there hasn't been a more exciting time in terms of the content that we're producing and the people that we're featuring. So, yeah, I mean, the day to day has remained sort of similar in some aspects, in the way that we run the magazine. Although flexible working and there have been so many changes in the actual working environment, I think they're all positive and we have to keep looking forward and not look back. I feel strongly about that.
No, I agree. So there are lots of positives. I mean, obviously, one of the
Mm,
negatives is declining print sales for
yes,
many titles.
but then
I
growing
mean, is that something
digitally.
which? What's that? Sorry.
So it's
Yeah.
all sort of counteracted. Yeah, I think, print will always be an important part of the business, but it will be growing in other areas, and that's great because it offers new opportunities.
So do you think publishers in general have come to terms with that
Mm.
changing mix? Because I think probably a few years ago, there was some angst about that.
Yeah, I think, well, as every industry has gone through, there will be changes to deal with. And it's obviously tough when, you need to sort of make changes to structure and things like that. But I think we have a very sort of lean team. We are a small team. Everybody has a really important role to play within the business. So I'm confident that we can overcome these challenges and retain our position. Although, I think there will be more casualties on the newsstand. It is tough out there, and you really have to be growing your digital side of the business alongside. And if you're not able to do that, then you might suffer more heavily than we are in print too.
So with the huge amount of celebrity content on the
Hmm.
internet and with
Hmm.
celebrities being so active themselves in putting stuff out,
Mm.
how does a brand like Hello, how do you go about offering
Mm.
something which is unique and distinctive when there's just so much out there?
Yes, but then what they're putting out on social media is very bite-sized. It's there for sort of a brief period of time. It's a small chunk of information and maybe a few pictures. So Hello really is about that luxury experience and a deeper dive. So we produce, in 10 pages of a glossy photo shoot, what simply, you simply couldn't replicate that in a square on Instagram. So I think it's really important that we stick to that core value. And also the access that we get, sometimes when it comes to weddings and things, stars feel that they might announce the fact that they've got married in a social media post, but then they'll work with Hello on that full album of a special occasion, and weddings still sell incredibly well for us. The audience is very much there for those special occasions, and I think Hello really has a unique place in the market for that type of content.
So is that really the secret of, in your opinion, of great celebrity content? It's the depth, and the trust?
And exclusivity. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you striving to have something that can't be found anywhere else online, and often we do go first, or we'll tie up sort of the announcement of big personal news and announce news at a similar time digitally and in print. But then, of course, nothing can replicate those glossy images that you see in a magazine.
I mean, the power of the photo is something pretty important to you,
and
I
we
guess.
are photo led. Yeah.
What just thinking about all the photo shoots you've done, do any particularly stand out of, the kind of full double page spread feature?
Gosh, so many.
Treatment.
Yes, weddings are always a really special occasion for us, and it's always very exciting. We know we've got something really big, like the wedding of George Clooney a few years ago, and Robbie Williams' wedding. That was a complete secret, and I was absolutely had a wonderful time going over to LA and interviewing him and Ida the night before their wedding, as it was all being assembled in the garden beneath us, and then knowing that we had this huge world exclusive and that the copies would fly off the shelves. But I think for these times, royal content is just huge for Hello, and historic moments like a royal wedding, you can't really beat that. That's a really exciting day in a Hello office.
And the last big royal wedding, was that Harry and Meghan?
It was, yes. Although obviously the wedding of a Princess Beatrice, when those images came through, during the pandemic, very small wedding, but again sold really well for us. So that historic souvenir collector's issue feel is always exciting for us.
And for a publisher considering getting into the celebrity market, I mean, it's a crowded market, so I don't know if there are that many newbies in there. But what are the pitfalls to avoid in dealing with, putting out celebrity content?
Well, I think we are unlikely to see more titles kind of growing in that area because, as you say, that it has changed immeasurably, really, with celebrities taking ownership of their own news with social media. But I think establishing your tone is absolutely critical for any publication. Hello were very, very clear about that. And I think that's really is one of the secrets of our success.
Now, looking at your editorship today, which exclusives are you most proud of? Any that stand out?
Well, it's always great to sit down and do a really in-depth chat with somebody that's lots of people have, strong preconceived ideas of. And I did a cover story for Hello just a few months ago with the Duchess of York, and really did a deep dive into her background. And that was a very moving interview. It was quite emotional actually doing it with her, and that's always a real privilege and an honour to have somebody open up to you in that way. But building that trusted relationship has taken a long time, and I feel very grateful that she wanted to sit down with me because she knew she sees me as a friend, and that I would do justice to the piece. That doesn't mean to say I'm not going to ask the difficult questions, but there's a way of doing that in a trusted sort of relationship. So that was really great. I'm busy focused on a number of campaigns as well that I'm really enjoying at the moment. Again, engaging with our community and our Big Hello audience. We've just launched a campaign in conjunction with the charity Wellbeing of Women, the Menopause Workplace Pledge, because our core reader age is sort of 35 to 55. So we felt that we wanted to launch a campaign putting a spotlight on women's issues when they're going through the menopause at work and how we can see better support in the workplace. And I've got meetings coming up with Carolyn Harris and Caroline Noakes, MPs, to see where we can take that for an end goal. So that really excites me, that kind of exclusive content, I guess, generating a campaign that's really going to support our audience as well
So
as
how would that
resonate
run? I
with
mean,
them.
so that will run over a number of issues, or would that be
Yeah,
a year-long endeavour?
Yes, that will go on for as long as it takes, really, hopefully to see a change in the law and see women better supported as they go through the menopause at work in the way that women are supported when they're on a fertility journey or on maternity in the workplace. I'll be involved with that for as long as it takes. We've just launched as well a Christmas appeal with the Teenage Cancer Trust, where we did a photo shoot with the Duchess of York, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie as honorary patrons of the Trust, to launch an appeal to help the Teenage Cancer Trust raise funds for young people suffering with cancer in the run-up to Christmas. That works really well for Hello's. We're able to engage some talent that we know will perform very well on our channels, but also feeds into our Hello to Kindness and the kindness that we want to see, throughout the year. So that kind of appeal was really great to be involved with, and it makes you feel really passionate about what you do. I go to sleep on a Friday night when the issue's gone to bed feeling as though we're putting some good into the world.
And response from the readership?
Yeah, strong. Yeah, that only launched last week, so I need to find out where we're at with donations, but I would foresee it doing well. We ran a similar appeal during the last lockdown for a charity called School Home Support, which supports children who are out of school for long periods of time. And obviously a lot of those children were falling through the cracks when schools closed their doors and there was homeschooling going on. And we raised £30,000 for them, which helped pay for another member of staff for this small charity. So I'm hoping, a similar region for the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Excellent. Now, part of your role is protecting the integrity of the Hello brand, which is so important. What does the brand stand for, in your opinion, and what does protecting it involve?
Yeah, it sounds like I might have a kind of shield or something. But
Yes.
yeah, well, I guess really it's what we've talked about. It's protecting that kind ethos. And I'm forever flying the flag for Hello to Kindness and championing our optimism and positivity. So I've become a sort of spokesperson on that level, and I'm extremely proud and protective of that ethos. It's ensuring that the tone of everything, across the brand is in keeping with that. And I really think it has improved our working environments too. And certainly working at Hello, there is that feeling that we support one another and we treat one another with kindness within our working teams. And I try to be an empathetic leader and put compassion at the heart of everything that we do. And that does give back and help to retain key talent within the business, because we really do mean it.
And in terms of that talent, obviously working from home for the last 18 months or so, are you going to return to an office environment, or is it going to be a kind of hybrid?
Yeah, we're operating a hybrid model already. I'm sat in my office now, looking out to the Thames on the South Bank. So we're in the office 2 or 3 days a week. Across the company, which is really great. Nothing can replicate that buzz that you get from seeing work colleagues in person and having chats at people's desks and sharing ideas and brainstorming together. But I think the hybrid model is a really great one, because then, I love my days at home. I seem to be able to rattle through things that, keep getting waylaid when you're in the office, being called into endless meetings. So I think it's a mixture of both. It's making for a much happier workforce, I think, as well.
Did you consider closing the office? Because I know that some publishers are going down that route. Did that cross your mind?
Not permanently, no. I think as a journalist, you need to be seeing other people. I don't think you can work in isolation. It wasn't ideal for any of us to be at home for all of that time. Obviously, safety is paramount, so we'll have to see what this winter has in store for us all. But I think we need to be out and about, seeing each other and seeing other people and expanding our contacts base. It's really important.
Now, as I might have touched on this already, but how do you see the Hello brand evolving, as we come out of the pandemic and beyond?
Well, as a sustainable business, I really hope that we will be able to, make some really positive statements with regards to that in the new year. To keep, at the fore of royal content, to really be, even strengthen our position as the go-to in that area as we head into the platinum year, and to have greater in-person engagement with our community. I'm really looking forward to that, to sort of getting out and about and bringing people together again.
And now you've worked in, if you look at, taking a step back and looking at the wider consumer magazine sector, how do you see the sector as a whole? Not just the celebrity side, but maybe the broad glossy sector. How do you see that evolving in the future?
Well, I think we will see more titles going digital only, like Glamour magazine, or producing, very few physical editions per year. Hello Fashion, our monthly title, we now produce 9 issues per year. So we have 3 double issues. And that obviously is cost saving. And also we've got plans for Hello Fashion to expand digitally. I think email marketing will become increasingly important as well to the brand. So I think the market will remain, but we are going to see some significant changes as things evolve on the newsstand.
And where do you think publishers should be, putting their efforts, and editors, in the next few years? Where, where should they be focusing their attention?
On understanding your audience, always, and being data driven online, and really sort of harnessing the community of readers and users that you have, and really deep diving into what they want from your brand. And being responsive. We have to be agile. We have to be able to try things, and if they don't work, move on to something else and develop the things that do work. So it's an exciting time with lots of opportunity. But I think, being agile is absolutely critical.
And in terms of understanding the audience, how have you done that with Hello? What kind of how do you go about understanding the Hello buyer better?
Yeah, well, we did a deep dive into audience research a couple of years ago with quantitative and qualitative research and groups into to really look at our audience. And that's when we kind of decided to further develop our Hello to Kindness strand. We found that they were very conscious about a kind approach. And so, we expanded that. So we do audience research every now and again as well into the specific content we're producing. And, as a result of that, we saw that short stories and puzzles and things like that were working well for the titles. So I think engaging wherever you can, and data collection is obviously key to that as well. Because you have to understand your audience, otherwise what's it all about? You're not creating a magazine just for those of you that sit in the office.
Absolutely. Rosie, finally, a question we ask all our guests on the podcast. Outside of work, how do you relax?
Well, being with my children is my number one. Getting home, and I've got 2 young boys. There's always a lot of mayhem and noise in our house, and relaxing with them is my number one. Putting them to bed and, spending time just talking nonsense with them is my favourite thing
Lovely.
to do.
How old are they?
They are 7 and 6. So
right.
Still little, very busy boys. We recently moved to Surrey, so just slightly further out of London. I'm really enjoying having the space and being able to get out in nature more often. So I do love going for morning runs and walks, and that helps me relax too and keep on top of the 2 busy boys.
Rosie Nixon, thank you very much for being our guest on the In Publishing podcast.
Thank you very much.
A final word from our valued podcast sponsor. Air Business is trusted by 4,000 publications and 3 million happy subscribers, with 10 million customer records on file. It processes £500 million each year in 22 currencies and delivers over 300 million items. Find out more at airbusiness.com. Many thanks to Rosie for being our guest this time. Her emphasis on positivity is inspiring, as is her focus on seeking an ever deeper understanding of her audience. You can follow Rosie on Twitter, where her handle is @Rosie_Nixon. Her new book, Be Kind, can be purchased from all the obvious places, and Hello Magazine is available on a newsstand near you. Online, they can be found at hellomagazine.com, and they're also very active on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and as we just found out, TikTok too. For more information about us and to listen to previous podcasts, go to our website, inpublishing.co.uk. Thank you for listening. That was actually our last podcast of the year, but do join me in January for our next one. Until then, bye for now.